Kate has revealed that she has good days and bad days whilst being treated for cancer. And as the parent of 3 young children, the Princess of Wales has had to juggle being a mother and managing her own symptoms, with 50% of families now being affected by cancer in the UK. The Princess is far from alone. I'm delighted to say I'm joined now by podcaster, cancer survivor and mother Emma Campbell. Emma, it's so good to see you, known as Limitless Em on your social media, because you are limitless. When you heard this news tonight about Kate, what went through your mind?
I think more than anything, it's sort of the mother-to-mother feeling, or cancer patient to cancer patient, rather than, you know, who she is in the world's eyes. It's a bit, I imagine, a huge step for her tomorrow. I can only imagine the thoughts going through her head tonight of anticipation and apprehension, but it's a big step.
The Princess is 42. You were 39 when you got your cancer diagnosis, didn't you? And tell us about your situation, if you don't mind. And how long ago was that?
So that was 14 years ago. I was diagnosed, just turned 39. I had baby triplets of 6 months old, and my son was nearly 7. I was a single parent and had a large tumour in my breast. So it was obviously a devastating time. And then I got a secondary diagnosis 4 years later. And then I had a third diagnosis in 2019. So I've been on continuous treatment for 10 years now.
And what is that like? We don't know the treatment that Kate's having. They've said preventative chemotherapy.
Yeah.
What will that involve?
I can imagine in my sort of naive knowledge that preventative chemotherapy might not be, you know, we don't know whether she's lost her hair or, you know, every chemo for every cancer is different. But I think chemo is chemo, and there are stages within each cycle where you have good days, you have bad days. The fatigue, however you look to the outside world, there's always something very different going on inside, emotionally, physically. So I noticed, you know, in her statement, there are good days and bad days. So, and you really do, I think everyone would agree, you want to seize the good days. So, you know, tomorrow, I'm sure she'll be putting all her energy and focus into tomorrow, getting through it in whatever way she can. And then there might be you know, a bit of a come down on the next day, fatigue, exhaustion. And hopefully she's listening to her own body and doing what's exactly right for her.
We've had the statement from the Princess, and then you and I were looking at a Q&A that the Palace had provided as well, just answering some really basic questions. And what struck me from that was there are a lot of caveats for the media about the fact that she may not be on the balcony. They reserve the right, effectively, to change the schedule if that's required. What might cause her to change tomorrow's sequence of events? Will it be that fatigue?
I think, and I'm so glad that there are all those caveats, because I think that shows that she's being put first. You know, her well-being and on every level is the priority. And it has to be her decision at any moment to say, actually, she might wake up tomorrow morning and just make a different decision. It could be fatigue, it could be nausea, it could also be overwhelm. You know, it's a huge, whether you go through a cancer diagnosis or any kind of life trauma, you emerge as a different person in a way. So this is her first step back into the public eye on a global level. It's very overwhelming. And then knowing the opinions, the expectations, and even with her children thinking, well, mummy's almost back to work. Does that mean she's fine? Yeah. You know, and people make decisions that actually, but there's, from my point of view, what I've always talked so sort of passionately about is the emotional aspect. You know, we all experience chemotherapy and react to it differently. It can be absolutely brutal and blindsiding. But often,
and feels what the majority of that sensation is the nausea.
I think fatigue, nausea.
And we know that poor Kate had terrible pregnancy sickness. She had hyperemesis gravida for all of her pregnancy.
I mean, anti-nausea medication is incredible. I've got friends who... I was speaking to someone the other day at the hospital who was saying, you know, if it wasn't for I said, how's the nausea? And she said, well, the medication is amazing for nausea. And that's great. There's so much. She'll be getting every bit of help and support and medication and things to ease the side effects as is available.
And she says in her statement, doesn't she, about the fact that when she is well and when she does feel up to it, she's enjoying the school, being involved with the school, being involved with the family. What's that like when you wake up and you know it's a day when you can do more than the day before?
When it's a day like that, it's a day of normality, and normality is what a cancer patient, a cancer survivor, any of us want. That's what I call the magical mundane. And for her, many things in her life might not be mundane, but she's still a mum. And to take your kids to school, or to be helping them with their homework, making toast or whatever it is, they're the things that you long for when you've had that diagnosis, when you're sitting in the chemo chair, when you don't know what the future holds, when you're lying awake at night terrified. We all crave and yearn for what we call just the normality, the day-to-day stuff that so many of us take for granted.
Even if your normality is standing on a balcony in front of billions of people all around the world.
Exactly. But for her, it is almost like a kind of phased return. And, and I think just like any employers almost, there has to be adjustments and awareness of that individual, like I said, however they look, however they seem, however beautiful she's looking tomorrow internally. And she might be feeling great and she'll get so much from being
from the
there.
Crowd as well.
But also, she's going to be, I imagine, feeling such a range of emotions.
When she made that video that we just showed earlier, partly in reaction to the pressure from the public for answers, because we do treat the royal family like the little doll's house that we like to take out and play, don't we? And we put them away and we project all sorts of narratives onto them. When she made that statement, I was just really touched by the fact that she named the children when she said, I'm concerned about Charlotte, Louis and George. And it really humanised for me the fact that it is the children. What was that like for you, having those series of difficult conversations, which you presumably still have to have with them now that they're teenagers? Yeah,
with my children, I mean, it really does depend on the stage your children are at. And I think it's a question that many of us get asked, so often. How do we talk to our children? How do we explain things? My children have seen me, I'm very fortunate, in long periods of remission. My eldest son is the one that saw me with no hair and kind of,
because he was old enough to remember it.
Yeah, whereas the younger ones, they see me as, mum's going for treatment. And in a way, sometimes I'd like a little bit more kind of, awareness. But no, that's a blessing in my situation. But I think I imagine her main focus will be just wanting to feel like mum and wanting to do. As much as the help is appreciated, you want to be doing those things yourself. You want to be.
Yeah, you were very good friends with Deborah James, Bowel Babe, who we lost last year. That time's gone.
Nearly 2 years.
It's nearly 2 years ago now. And she did so much to raise awareness of cancer and treatments and checking yourself and all of the brilliant work that Deborah did. And her mum continues to do actually as well now. I wonder if in the fullness of time, Kate will talk more about what she's been through and become an advocate for cancer care.
I'd be surprised if she didn't.
Yeah.
Because I think fundamentally it has such a enormous effect, and not all of those effects are negative. We can find, many of us have found a real sense of purpose, and okay, ideally you don't want it to come from a potentially life-limiting, threatening disease, but your perspective and your outlook you look at life through a very different lens. And whoever you are, royalty or not, life is different. It has a different look. So I would be very surprised if in some way this doesn't shape her focus, her intentions, her plans, and she'll use her voice, I'm sure, in the most effective way that she can.
Well, everyone will be on the edge of our seats tomorrow, actually, won't we? Just wanting to see her back.
I just hope that she has the day that she needs, and it's a sign of progress. But I hope she's got all of the gentleness around her that she needs as well, and I hope she's gentle with herself.
OK. Emma, thank you so much.